right now, what better time to get back in than the NFL playoffs?
Absolutely.
Wild card weekend last week. Um, it was fun. It was a fun weekend for me. I was also at the Eagles game. We'll get to the Eagles game in a little bit. But starting off right away, Texans 32, Chargers 12. And I was working for the Flyers during this game, and I watched the first quarter on my phone while like commuting down to the stadium, and I was watching it just on the TVs in the arena, and it was shocking because when I stopped watching on my phone, it was 6-0 Chargers, and they'd already gotten a turnover. Their defense looked solid, and the offense would start off each drive hot. Justin Herbert doing what he does, he's just throwing it on a line, just daggers down the middle of the field. And then, they couldn't capitalize and they'd settle for
Nope.
3 on the first
Yeah.
2 drives. And to me, that was like Texans looked like they were lost. So, the first quarter, I thought maybe the Chargers can, if they keep the foot on the gas, they can really, go on a good run and keep running up the score. That's not what happened at all.
No, yeah. It was it definitely felt like a pretty big indicator that they weren't up like 17 nothing or 13 nothing after
Mhm.
the opportunities they had in the first quarter. And then the Texans absolutely flipped a switch. That to me the Chargers just they're lacking a lot. They absolutely overperformed this year in my eyes. And people talk about Herbert and the 4 interceptions, which is absolutely ridiculous to double your interception total in a playoff game from your entire season. Lad McConkey is really good. I don't really know if there's much else good on that offense other than Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater.
Yeah.
Like you're throwing to Will Dissly, Quentin Johnston, Trey Palmer. J.K. Dobbins is
TCU.
like a capable running back, but I don't think he's a full time starter. So there's a lot to be desired. The defense is aging. Harbaugh turned that defense around a lot. Like he's relying on late round draft picks, and they were really good this year. Tarheep Still, Cam Hart, Diane Henley from last year was excellent this season. Uh, they overperformed the Texans. A little glimmer of hope. I think the end of the season, a lot of people were down and out on them. They're kind of just sleepwalking their way through a bad division. They had the injury concerns, but they were not inspiring in really any facet of the game down the stretch. And the last 3 quarters of this wild card game, they really turned it around. There was an energy about them. They capitalized on turnovers and opportunities. And you saw a little bit of everything that you should be seeing from the Texans. So they can bottle that energy and take it to Arrowhead. I think they definitely have an
And
opportunity to give the Chiefs a
and
run
make
for
it
their
happen.
money. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just thought it was insane that you get 6 points in the first quarter. That probably those first 2 drives should have been touchdowns. I
Yeah.
think that those not going for 6 is largely disappointing from the standpoint of a Chargers fan or a coach or something. I mean, even the players should be disappointed that those didn't. If you start off 14-0, not that maybe it would have changed the outcome of the game because the Chargers didn't score again until the fourth quarter,
Yeah.
but that's a different kind of momentum than just you fight really hard, you have 2 really good drives, I thought, and you end up with less than you would have gotten for 1 touchdown. Didn't capitalize off the turnover, didn't capitalize off of big plays to start the drive. That first drive, they first got the ball, and I was like, all right, Herbert came to play today. I
Yeah.
was like, he's not messing around. And then turns out he was totally messing around. And then just Houston defense, like I guess they just locked in. Like they caught a break with those 2 field goals, like I mentioned, and then they got 4 interceptions, 4 sacks, and a fumble.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean, like those numbers from a defense, it's hard to lose when
very
you're
hard.
generating turnovers, um, and then you're getting to the quarterback. That definitely helps. Derek Stingley had 4 tackles, a forced fumble, and 2 interceptions. Eric Murray had four solo tackles and a pick six. Like, I mean,
I think it's largely I I mean, I don't know how I want to phrase this. The the player personnel is getting there with the Chargers. I think Harbaugh's first offseason, he flipped so much of the roster with a lot of the veteran guys. They're taking up a lot of money, and he flips them with stopgap free agents and young late round draft picks, and they performed. But you just don't have dudes on that team really. Like Lad McConkey is a dude, Joe Alt is a dude, Herbert is good. The Texans have dudes, and they have a culture that has been sustained there for 2+ years at this point. And I mean, Derek Stingley, dude, Murray for Petrie. Petrie is out for the playoffs. He was really good in that game. Daniil Hunter, Will Anderson, Aziz Al-Shire's questionable player, but he's back
Yeah.
and he plays with a fire to him. And then say what you want about C.J. Stroud, but him and Nico Collins showed up. Joe Mixon has experience. They're just I the way the teams met at this point, it felt like everyone should have picked the Chargers. But when you really think about it on paper, is it surprising the way it played out? Maybe a little, but I mean, I think when you look at it from the hindsight is 2020 lens, um, I'm maybe not that surprised.
Yeah, I'm mostly surprised by Herbert's play. I
Yeah,
mean,
agreed.
QBR of 40.9. I mean,
Hey,
that's not the Herbert we've seen all year.
nope.
That's not, a Justin Herbert performance I expect to see again for a long time. Uh, I think he's a great quarterback. I think he's got insane arm talent, and he's gonna be a great quarterback for years to come. As of right now, though, I'll tell you what, it's a tough time to be an Oregon Duck. Not a lot of fun. But moving on to a team that is having a lot of fun and has been a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
fun to watch. Ravens beat the Steelers 28-14. Now 28-14 isn't like a set the world on fire kind of score line when you're just looking at the score. It's not a blowout, but it's not a close game. That's pretty much what the game was. It was always in the Ravens' hands. They had almost 40 minutes of time of possession in this game against the
Ridiculous.
Steelers,
Yeah.
which goes to speak to the run game. And if the 40 minutes of possession doesn't tell you about the run game, 186 yards and a touchdown by Derrick Henry, that'll do it for you. Um, Lamar Jackson, he could win his third MVP, and
That was actually like one of my only notes for this game. This kind of felt like a no notes game to me. Um, the fact that he is not a consensus MVP this year is like absolutely ridiculous. He had 5,000 scrimmage yards, 45 touchdowns, and what, like 5 turnovers the whole season.
yeah,
I like
he
absolutely ridiculous production. They say the whole supporting cast thing. I kind of just don't even care. Like no
yeah,
one's ever put those stats up or like remotely close to those stats up in a season. And who's to say he doesn't influence how good his supporting cast is as well? That
exactly.
second Derrick Henry touchdown run was four players ran to Lamar Jackson. I mean, it
Yeah,
was
it was.
absolutely ridiculous. You made the point about time of possession. They had what was it? 17 play drive, 95 yards. They didn't pass the ball once.
Yeah,
Like that
just
is
running it down the throat.
absolutely ridiculous. Microcosm of what has made these last couple Ravens teams successful since Lamar has become the full-time starter. And now you just have better personnel to do it with. And the kind of final note on the Ravens, the defense started the year brutal, really bad unit to start the year. And I since maybe week 7 or 8, they're like top 5 in the league. That's what we expected. That's what we've seen a lot. Um, our Darius Washington, he's like 5'8", maybe 5'9", playing safety for them. That dude's a dog. Shout out that guy. He's goated.
Yep, yep. And I love watching the Ravens because their brand of football is I support that fully, and we need more of it. The
Agreed.
5 yards in a cloud of dust, just like if you want to stop us, just stack the box, like
and
helmet to helmet, bang.
and you have such talented players. You just keep doing that. It's gonna blow big multiple times.
Mm,
And it's not just gonna blow for like 15 yards. It's gonna blow for a 65-yard touchdown run, and all of a sudden you're down by 14. Like,
exactly. And if you can run it first 3 downs and get a first down, just first down you get 5 yards, second down you get a couple more, you get third and short, you can run it again, or you have the option play with Lamar, or you could do a RPO. There's so many things that can come from having two huge threats. Justice Hill, I've liked Justice Hill in the past game, like a little short from the backfield coming out, like a little flat route, whatever it is. Maybe even I've seen it a couple times throughout the season. He got a touchdown this past weekend as well. I think Justice Hill has been a nice complementary piece to that run game because he's not, the most terrifying threat, but if you leave him alone, he can hurt you.
He's an extension of the run game with his receiving ability. And I'm going to flip this a little. Actually, I'll stick with the role players. We started the season talking about Isaiah Likely. He had like 120 yards and a touchdown against
Yeah,
the Chiefs, the near game winner. The supporting cast has been elevated to like a whole different level this year. I think I highlighted the offensive line at the beginning of the year, a lot of inexperience, a lot of moving pieces there. They've really settled in. Likely's emerged. You see a little Charlie Kohler, who I actually really liked coming out of Iowa State. He's like 6'7", kind of almost a wide receiver, like Isaiah Likely. Bateman, finally his breakout season. He was awesome this year. No Zay Flowers, no problem for them in this game.
mhm,
And then you still got complementary pieces like Wallace and Aguilar are fine options down the bench. Um, yeah, exciting team, really good cast, and Todd Monken flipping a coach in here. He maybe will get some head coaching looks. His 2 years with
yeah,
Lamar Jackson have been pretty ridiculous.
yeah. No, I agree. I think. I mean, we'll get to predictions for the Ravens, but they're playing the Bills next week, and the Bills just they killed the Broncos, and the Broncos started off hot. They had a good drive and an absolute bomb from Bo Nix.
The first
Um,
rookie to rookie touchdown connection in playoff history, which is extremely
really,
hard to believe. Yeah.
that's crazy. I didn't know that.
And
Shout
they
out Bo Nix.
and they both played on the same college team, so good for them.
Yeah, that's sick. Um,
About the only highlight they had in that game.
yeah, that's it. The highlights ended
It
there, and it
stopped.
was all Josh Allen and James Cook after that. Not a lot of notes on this game.
Nope.
The Bills, they handled business. It it was a blowout. It really was. Again, Bo Nix. I think the biggest thing is remember he's still a rookie, and everyone has talked about Sean Payton's system and play calling being hard to pick up on as a quarterback. Drew Brees had struggles with it, and I wouldn't be surprised if Bo Nix needs some time to get better. And even with this rookie year to build off of, I think he's having a great start. So I think we'll only see him get better from this. Still, tough time to be an Oregon Duck right now. Um, but a Josh Allen and James Cook versus Lamar and Derrick Henry is going to be cinema. Like WrestleMania once in a lifetime, Cena versus The Rock cinema.
Another huge matchup. These AFC matchups between the perennial contenders or the gifts they keep on giving. I will say I don't really have notes on the Bills. They've really been the same team the entire year.
Yeah,
Um, the Broncos, this is a really good directional year for them. They invested a lot in Sean Payton, and it hasn't really paid off. And then they're still eating dead cap. They have one first round pick in the last 2 years, and he, just really slow start. I think he started like 0-4 touchdown interception ratio, and then he finishes the season with 30 plus touchdowns and like 12 interceptions is fine for a rookie in 17 games.
yeah,
Um, the personnel not good. They're still eating dead cap from the Russell Wilson debacle, and they they still have a really good defense. Vance Joseph, ever since that 70-point game that the Dolphins put on his head, unreal turnaround to
he
be
locked
honest.
in. Yeah,
Absolutely, I love Nick Benito. I really do. He's
he's
awesome.
he's a beast.
Jonathan Cooper. I think he got traded. No, Baron Browning got traded. Jonathan
Yeah,
Cooper
Browning got traded. He got extended. Cooper got
Jonathan
extended
Jonathan
again.
Cooper is great as well. I mean, those are ridiculous edge rush pair.
Yeah,
Obviously, you got Sertan. Brandon Jones, they brought in from the Dolphins, was really good in the secondary. John Franklin Myers, Zach Allen. Like, you got guys. They're flipping that roster now.
and
Um,
they have that defensive like dog like identity.
yeah,
They've
they,
they've
they
had
got
it
they got
since they
players on
won the
defense.
Super Bowl.
Absolutely, yeah.
They've had
They
it since they won the Super Bowl. And my thing was, you lost the no fly zone. You lost like the core players for that, like the Bradley Robies and the oh my god, what uh not what's his name?
I was a big Danny
From
Trevathan guy.
Marty Danny Trevathan,
I was a big Danny Trevathan guy.
legend, Bears legend.
True.
Um, what's his name? Was it not Antonio Cromartie? There was another Cromartie in the league.
Dominique Rogers-Cromartie.
I think that was
He
who
was on the
was
Broncos
on
for
the.
like a year or two, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked him on the that one year. They had Justin Simmons, who they let go. I wasn't sure how that was going to go. They let Von Miller go in the Super Bowl, and you know they've let a lot of great personnel go. Aqib Talib, that's who I was
Chris
thinking of.
Harris, yeah. Those
Chris
guys.
Harris Jr.,
Yep.
the real no fly zone. I mean, that was a great defense, and whether they were tired or they just like let him go. I was really curious, especially this year. Derek Wolf.
Oh,
Real ones know Derek
Malik
Wolf.
Jackson, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. What a team. But I was curious about how the identity was going to be, especially with letting a guy like Justin Simmons just walk. Wasn't sure how that was going to go, and clearly it went over just fine. And they did great this year. They still have that defensive, like we'll win the game defensively kind of mentality. And as Bo Nix continues to progress in the league, I think things will continue to trend upwards over
Yeah.
there in Denver.
Bottom line, Sean Payton's a winner. And I think
Yeah,
it's unfortunate people started doubting that. I definitely started doubting that because, I mean, hard to not have a bad taste in your mouth with the Broncos since the Super Bowl.
yeah,
Pretty, really
it's
underwhelming.
rough.
So
Very tough
good,
time.
good season for the Broncos overall, I would say.
Yeah, and Bo Nix would have won Rookie of the Year if it wasn't for one guy. If it wasn't for one person, Jaden Daniels, because he's been lights out. He's been must see TV. And at first, there's a part of the season where I was like, Bo Nix, I think could take Rookie of the Year. I don't think that's realistic
Yeah,
anymore. Jaden
no way.
Daniels this week in the win versus the Bucks on a walk-off doink field goal from Zane Gonzalez. Jaden Daniels had 24 completions on 35 attempts, 268 pass yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, for a rookie to do that in his first playoff appearance is, I don't know. I'm pretty speechless because the weapons around the Commanders are okay. They're all right.
He
I like
was,
Terry McLaurin,
yeah.
but
He was also the only semblance of a running game they had um, against, the people talk about Todd Bowles' defense. His defenses are feast or famine, really.
yeah.
And they couldn't run the ball. He chips in, 30 plus rushing yards like a guarantee with him. And he
Hmm.
gets big first downs with his legs, huge first downs with his legs,
Hmm.
game in and game out. Yeah, Terry McLaurin, big game again, in a big spot. The Commanders are like probably my favorite overachieving team I've watched in the last few seasons of football. The new GM Adam Peters comes in, and I think he flipped like 70% of the payroll on the Commanders
Hmm.
like whole staff and roster combined. Like he got to work immediately, and I don't know if we've really seen it pay dividends like this quickly in a while. Yeah, Jaden Daniels is special. Cliff Kingsbury, little comeback story for Cliff.
Yeah.
Uh, Jaden fits what he wants to do. He's got a guy like McLaurin, who I guess is comparable to DeAndre Hopkins when he was succeeding in Arizona. You can just isolate him and figure out what you want to do with the rest of the guys. The defense is questionable, but they did enough against a good Bucks offense.
Mhm.
And I will be excited to talk about the Bucks in a second. But yeah, I mean Washington. I don't think anyone's really giving them a chance against Detroit. But like, what a what a bounce pad to the future of Washington this season
Yeah.
is. And I'm excited to watch this team in the future because they can also improve a lot.
Yeah. I like that bounce pad reference. It's pretty sweet. Um, but yeah, you mentioned the Bucks. You got Baker, who went 15 for 18, 2 touchdowns, 185 yards. Not a bad game at all. And Bucky Irving, who I'm personally a huge fan of. I like
Big
Bucky
Bucky
a
guy,
lot.
a big
Yeah.
Bucky guy.
This guy, he's the real deal. He's just a stud. he's just one of those dudes that you look at and you're, wow, here's a guy.
Here's a
83 yards and a
guy.
touchdown, like you're a guy. That's it.
People
Point blank. Period.
people were comparing him to Kyron Williams early on in the season, and I gravitated towards that comp too because of the measurables and the athletic ability. RAS score is big for combine performances and stuff like that in the offseason. He did not perform great either. Like the measurables are not great. He got a decent workload at Oregon, and man, this dude, he's better than Kyron Williams. I'll stand on that right now.
I think,
He's got more bursts than Kyron Williams. Um, the Buccaneers' offensive line this year, maybe the biggest 180 in the league. Absolutely ridiculous. They drafted Graham Barton. They moved Wirfs to left tackle. All pro at left tackle and right tackle in his career. Ridiculous. Um, Liam Cohn, the offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers, a lot of talk about him replacing Bowles as the head coach. I don't know if you can replace Bowles just because they've won the NFC South 3 years in a row. But
yeah,
man, if you wanna blow the ceiling off this thing, I think you make Cohen the head coach. I mean, the sky's the limit for this team. The offense was awesome this year, outside of Baker Mayfield being Baker Mayfield and he's also feast or famine. This is the whole feast or
yeah,
famine with the Buccaneers. I swear.
yeah.
He's a turnover, a big play, but his turnovers don't hurt them too much. Um,
You know who was like that for the Buccaneers?
Jameis
Buccaneers
Winston.
legend. Buccaneers legend. We love
it's
Jameis
it's just
Winston
a Buccaneers thing,
on
I guess.
bracket coverage.
Absolutely.
No, no one does it like Jay because Jameis does it wherever he goes. It
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
matter.
he's the
He'll
same
give it
guy
to you
day in
at
and a day
Florida
out.
State. It doesn't matter where he's at. He'll give you an 80-yard touchdown and throw a pick six. The
Absolutely.
next drive.
He
It
is
doesn't matter.
he is a net zero no matter where he goes, no matter what he
Yeah,
does. He finds a way to offset the good with the bad. Um yeah, Buccaneers are kind of in a weird spot. They have good personnel, they have good coaching. I don't know if Bowles is the guy to get you over the top. So some interesting decisions for the Bucks cuz if I don't know if you can let Liam Cohen go anywhere else. I don't know if you can keep him unless you're making him your head coach. So,
yeah,
Mike Evans, another 1,000 yard season. Good for him.
yep, yeah. That was something. That 1,000-yard play.
The
It
Saints
was
gave
something.
it to him. I'm not gonna lie.
They did. They did. I saw people on Twitter saying it was like me personally. If I'm on defense, I'm throwing 11 guys on. He's
Absolutely,
getting bullied.
absolutely.
And I was like, dude, yeah, we need. What happened to rivalries, huh? Like, to division rivals.
Yeah,
I don't
no
know.
Marshawn Lattimore would have planted him in the
Yeah,
ground and
Marshawn
gotten
Lattimore
5 penalties.
would not have gone.
Oh, I completely forgot about that. Speaking of Lattimore, Lattimore got cooked in this game.
Bad.
Absolutely cooked.
Yeah.
And I was a pretty big proponent of Washington making a winning move at the deadline. I know Lattimore was injured, but man, he definitely looks like he's lost a little bit because he's one of the most physical corners in the league in his heyday. I think he's a plus, regardless from some of the other guys they had out there. They moved on from Emmanuel Forbes, who was getting significant snaps and eventually got planted on the bench.
He's on
Um,
the Rams now, right?
yeah, just
Nice.
yeah. I
Nice.
mean, they're gonna need Lattimore to step up. They've they've had kind of these not outcast guys necessarily, but they banked on Luvu being a really good player, and he's been that. Bobby Wagner. I mean, this dude he's never going to get worse. I say the same thing about Levante
Yeah.
David. I take it back. Wagner has gotten worse, but he's still really good at what he was really good at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Levante David hasn't gotten worse. I'll stand on that. But yeah, so Washington, I don't know how much of a chance I'll give him against Detroit personally, but fun season and two fun teams. This was a great round one matchup.
Yeah, that was a good round matchup, and it showed. Like I said, Zane Gonzalez with the go ahead walk off field goal, and then just my overall takeaway is Commanders decent team. I don't even know if they're really a playoff team, but Jaden Daniels does elevate them talent wise to that level. Pairing up with Terry McLaurin. I think other than that, you got like Zach Ertz.
Yeah.
They have like what Zacchaeus,
Yep. Diami Brown.
Olamide.
Big Diami Brown game.
Yup, yup. And yeah, those are just like the weapons that they have. They're all right, not great, but with Jaden Daniels, you can really do some damage. And I'm not gonna jump ahead to the Detroit matchup too much, but they could surprise some people. I don't think they will. I think Detroit got that, but I think
Yeah.
they could surprise some people. And speaking of commanders, I'm talking about an ex-commander here, Jahan Dotson with a receiving touchdown. Love to see it.
Big game Jahan.
Um, yeah, big game Jahan.
I don't.
That's the
He's
that's
never existed before, but he exists now.
yeah, yep. I don't make the rules, man. I just follow them. A lot of criticism for Hurts and AJ Brown in this Eagles win against the Packers, 22-10. Um, my thing with the Jahan Dotson touchdown is, as much as I'd love to, good job on Jalen passing the ball, good job on Dotson
I know where
catching
you're
the ball.
going,
But the O line got
dude.
that touchdown.
Absolute beauty. Like put that in the Louvre, bro. That
Yep,
was
hang it up.
gorgeous. That was gorgeous. You don't
Yeah,
see that.
that's the cleanest
Oh,
pocket I've ever
oh
seen.
my god, dude.
That is like it was beautiful to watch, and I just watching the defense completely unravel,
Oh,
and Jalen Hurts just sitting there, like he could have eaten a hoagie from Wawa. He was
my man popped a Fortnite shield bubble in the pocket. Like,
yeah, bro. Like he had not only did he have the time, he probably had to take one sidestep and found himself with 5 yards of space in each direction.
no one in his area code.
Just yeah, like, and then of course, when you have that much time and pretty short field, it's hard to keep covering
Yeah.
Devonta Smith, AJ Brown, Jahan Dotson for that long. And I don't know, Goddard or Calcaterra, whoever. It's tough to stay man to man with them for that long. A couple little like juke moves from Dotson. He finds himself open back of the end zone. Jalen Hurts finds him, put it on the board. Not to mention off of a huge special teams play with that opening kickoff turnover, getting the Packers to fumble. That was who forced that
Oren
fumble? I know
Burks
Oren Burks forced it, and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. recovered it.
recovered it.
I'm not here for conspiracies,
Recovered it.
man.
He recovered it.
I'm not. You're here. Listen,
He recovered for like half a second, maybe.
that was the half a second that mattered. Listen, I'm not out there calling the plays. I, I I I agree with the call. I stand with the referees.
Uh,
But my roommate is going crazy right now. He just said he was gonna put a hole through the fucking wall.
that was me
Yeah,
last night.
yeah, I'm pretty sure he's playing Call of Duty right now. But shout out my boy Ben. Back to the Eagles. Stay with me now. The Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown criticism. AJ Brown, I don't know why he's getting criticized. Like, a lot of people care about the whole book thing, and I don't think it's that deep.
Dude,
Maybe I'm just coping or something.
good for dude. If someone's saying he didn't do anything good, he raised that author's book sales by 53 million%.
Yeah, dude,
Like,
unreal numbers that
good
guy's
guy
doing.
AJ Brown out here.
Yep. Shout out Inner Excellence. Find it on Amazon. Not sponsored. Um, yeah, it's been pretty interesting. I was bumping the audiobook. Good stuff. Good stuff.
I
Uh,
I just Jalen hasn't played in a while. I expect the offense to be rusty, and the Packers are a good defensive team. I think people overrate Jair a little bit at this point. Um, and you'd kind of be dumb to not think that they weren't gonna sell out to stop somebody. Like, you have to bite the
yeah,
bullet. You have to bite the bullet and try to stop someone. Um, their front did okay on Saquon for most of the game. Like, he just didn't get the carries like really early on that he probably should have, because he was converting at a decent rate on the ground. But like, it's pick and choose, and they probably chose right. I mean, they allowed 22 points. Like, that's not a lot. That's really not
yeah,
that
it's not
many.
bad, especially with this offense. It's
Yeah.
definitely good.
So, um, also speaking of Packers defense, I just have to say this. Their draft defensively was unreal. Unreal defensive draft. Edgerrin Cooper, I was mocking him to the Eagles relentlessly. absolutely relentlessly. Before we landed on Quinyon Mitchell, I had Q going way earlier than 22. That's why I was going Edgerrin Cooper.
Yeah.
Edgerrin Cooper's unreal. He's going to be disgusting. They got Javon Bullard, who was also unreal next to Xavier McKinney. They drafted Evan Williams, who was injured, another safety. You move him around. He played in this game. I don't know how good he was, but I to my larger point here with the Packers, their roster management is so good. It will offset the disappointment and setback that Love's contracts presents. I think without a doubt at this point, you can point to that being an overpay. They're too good at managing their roster and capitalizing on younger players or lower contracts or moving money around, very similar to the Eagles. Now, obviously, Jalen Hurts' contract is nothing like Jordan Love's contract, so it's not that comparable in that sense. But in terms of building a team that can be successful, there's worse quarterbacks than Jordan Love that have made the Super Bowl. So
Mhm.
long term, I think they'll be okay. Not a good look for Jordan Love. Maybe a little cop out. I know they have Josh Jacobs, who's a wagon. His weapons are not great, and people underrate how important Christian Watson is.
Yeah, that's true too. That was big coming in. Also, Jordan Love had tweaked his elbow in the last regular season game. That was definitely I'd like to say that that was a factor, in coming to the defense
Oh
of
my
his
God,
3 interceptions.
I'm gonna have to cut you off. You know what the biggest factor is? It's not Toyotathon anymore.
Oh,
It wasn't Toyota.
it's over.
Toyotathon
Yeah,
ended. It's over.
true. That's true.
He was doomed
Shout
from the
out
start.
Shout out Toyotathon. Once again, not sponsored. Yeah, it was over from there. He had 3 interceptions, and there was the big play Slay. And I want to say first. It was in the first half. I want to say I don't know if it was first quarter or second quarter.
Yeah, it was pretty
I
early.
know it was in the first half. That was a big interception. Eagles couldn't capitalize. Zach Bond in second quarter, he dropped an interception. It barely hit the floor, but he almost
Yeah,
had it. And then he comes out in the next play and he gets a pick
next
anyways.
play, right?
So Zach Bond, he's been a stud this year. They got to pay him. They got to pay him.
Unreal. It's almost a shame that they only gave him a 1 year deal in the offseason. Because you could
Yeah,
imagine you sign that guy to like 12 over 3 or something. Best
that would have been
contract in the
incredible
league. Best
in the
contract in the
league by
league,
a
dude.
lot, by a lot. But the biggest interception of this game mattered the most to me, but it mattered the least to the game. And it was the first interception of what
Ugh.
is going to be a great career. Quinyon Mitchell
Finally, dude.
receives absolute airmail from Jordan Love. Oh my god! I thought it was FedEx sending it up. It was ridiculous. It was free. Um, and going back a little bit, those are just to cover the turnovers there. I want to talk about no turnover, and that was Jalen Hurts. So, despite all the criticism he's been under for weeks, his career dating back to him getting benched for Tua, like all the criticism Jalen Hurts has gotten, I think he gets to a point. I think he got his contract. People said it was an overpay, whatever. I think he's a great quarterback. I think he's a weapon with his legs. I think you got to remember 2 years ago, he looked like a top 3 player in the league. He was getting like MVP shouts. He's coming off of a concussion. And my thing with the Eagles is it's a lot. Last time both AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts were getting criticized is when Brandon Graham went on WIP, made a comment suggesting that they weren't friends anymore after a close game to the Carolina Panthers. And the next week, what was the game right after the Panthers? Do you remember?
Was that Steelers or no?
I don't know if it was Steelers or not. I'm actually gonna check because
Yeah,
that's gonna
I need
frustrate
to
me.
check that too.
Um, After the Panthers game, you're right. It was the Steelers, and the offense just had a day. They had a day against the Steelers. They put up 27 points. Jalen Hurts went from throwing the ball like 20 times a game to throwing 32 times against the Steelers. Got 290 pass yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and had 45 yards on the ground. He got touchdowns to Devonta Smith. He got one to AJ Brown. And my thing is, that might just be the scheme. That might just be what this offense does. One week they'll pound you with Saquon. The next week, they'll target A.J. Brown, especially knowing Sean McVay is probably going to be looking to shut down Saquon next week because of how the last game ended. I'll get more into that, when we talk about that matchup. But I'm really not worried about Jalen Hurts. I think there's been a lot of I think he can be great. I think this offense can be great, and I'm no way concerned because while he does hold the ball for quite a while, I'd rather him panic in the pocket and take a sack. Not great, but I'd rather that than him panic and try to squeeze it to AJ Brown in triple coverage and throw a pick.
Yeah, I think you referenced a couple years ago, he's easily a unanimous Super Bowl MVP if they win that game. Um, he's a winning player. I don't think people look into stats a little too much.
Yeah.
You need the context of how the team plays, and he helps this team win based on how they play. Um, Kellen Moore is also not dumb. I like
Yeah.
he's gonna put his players in spots to succeed, and so is Jalen. I think
Mhm.
Kellen even came out and said himself that Jalen audibled to that screen pass for the Goddard touchdown.
Oh
Um,
my god! Which, by the way, weight room. Like
yeah, the stiffy was crazy.
oh my god! I'm sorry. He was just mashing the A button.
Oh
Like
my
it was
god,
ridiculous.
it was great, dude.
Great touchdown.
Um, so yeah, I like it's strange. I know you scored 22 points. It's a good defense. You didn't turn the ball over. You didn't lose the game for yourself or try to throw the game for yourself really. Um, and Jalen hasn't played in a while, so I don't really see a problem here. I think people kind of just gravitate to stuff to complain about and never really change their tune. Um, it is what it is. I think the only concerning thing for me coming from this game was I thought the tackling was not great, and you don't have N'Kobe Dean for the rest of the playoffs.
Yep.
I will say it was kind of a good sign that Oren Burks made a big time play because you're probably going to be seeing a lot of him. um, these next couple of games, they brought back Nicholas Morrow, who was a player for like a year and a half. When
He was a guy.
that linebacker's core was horrendous, like horrendously
Terrible.
bad. Um, I'm interested to see what Vic does. Is it more Nolan Smith in coverage, even though he just had the best game of his career? Is it CJ moving down closer to the line? More DeJean closer to the box. There's a lot of stuff he could do. He's still got good personnel. He'll figure it out. One linebacker sets even just go dime. He'll
Yeah.
he'll figure it out. It is really unfortunate because N'Kobe Dean has been a dog this year.
Amazing. Amazing. And this was the year we've been waiting for
Yeah.
with N'Kobe Dean progressing. One of the biggest things I want to say before we move on to the last wild card matchup. Um, Zach Bond has been good. We know that, but in coverage, he was really good against the Packers.
Yep.
He dropped that one interception, but he made up for it the next play by getting the interception. But Quinion interception, that was Zach Bond who was man to man with I forget which receiver it was going deep into the end zone, and Zach Bond was going stride for stride. It was a little underthrown, and Quinion was right there to
Yeah.
to pick it off. So, again, shout out to Quinion because he's been working for that INT all season.
I was just about to
But
say today and some of the stuff we're highlighting is a day of full circle moments. That was a full
yeah,
circle moment. I mean,
yep,
I think the first 4 games of the year, Quinion dropped an interception, and then later in
yeah.
the year, he had 2 taken away from him by CJ.
But CJ Gardner
So,
Johnson,
great
yeah,
for the Rook. I've been the biggest Quinion supporter since before the
and
draft even
Stolito,
happened. Yeah, I
yeah,
just my type of corner. I just gravitate to the bigger physical guys. He's his own guy. Reminds me of a guy that would be on those old Seahawk teams
yeah,
when Dan Quinn was the DC. A lot of interconnecting going on here.
yeah. Right. Shout out to
So
the Max Conley.
yeah, I love Quinyon Mitchell. First, this is kind of cringe, but first Eagles jersey I got. So wore him to the Eagles game that I went to
Dude,
this year. So yeah, shout out
that's kind of
Q.
funny that me and you, the first Eagles jersey I got was Darius Slay. So it's kind of funny
Little
that we both
DB
got
action.
defensive backs. Yeah, not a lot of people.
I
And
love
actually,
DBs.
yeah, I'm a big DB guy. And before we move on for real this time, one of the highest selling jerseys this season, working at the stadium, has by far been Cooper DeJean and the Kelly Green.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Did
dude,
you see? Did you see the guy wearing DeJean 42?
I did see that. I saw him at the game. I saw someone wear that at the game.
Dude, that should have me crying.
And one of the best parts of the Eagles game is that when I walked in this past weekend, I walk in and you want to know what's blasting out of the speakers in the stadium? Take a guess.
I honestly have no idea.
I might swerve in that corner.
Oh my
Whoa,
god,
whoa.
dude, stop.
Shout out to the Ball brothers.
Uh,
Shout out to LeVar. With that being said, we're gonna take it to Arizona.
I was gonna say, yeah, we still got one more game.
We got one more game. We're gonna take it to Arizona. Not because the Cardinals are there. They're in Cancun with the Bengals.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Jamar Chase though.
It's
Everyone else on the Bengals.
it's actually funny. I have our predictions in the back of my head. Like I vaguely remember what we said. I feel like our Cardinals prediction was kind of spot on. Like
Yeah,
competitive team in that division that maybe could make the playoffs, and they were what, like 6-3, and then they finished 8-9. Like
yeah.
that's honestly kind of what I saw for them. Um,
But
that's so
I
off
actually
track, but whatever.
I do want to say because I was chirping you a little bit this weekend because you said the Eagles were going to be representing, or no, you said the Packers would be representing the NFC in the Super Bowl this year
I
in our
did
preseason
I
predictions.
did say they'd play each other at some point in the playoffs, so
True,
I deserve a
true.
little credit.
You do get some credit, but I'm just saying, my prediction is still alive because you said it'd be Packers Chiefs.
Texans, disgusting, disgusting decision, disgusting decision. I think I said
Whoa.
Packers Texans.
Wow. Okay. So
I was drinking
okay.
that Kool Aid on the Texans.
Yeah, you were feeling them. That's
Also,
crazy.
if you're gonna tell me the Eagles went 14-3 and didn't get a first round bye, I'd be a little surprised. So
Yeah. Speaking of 14 teams
and didn't get a first round bye.
and didn't get a first round bye. Insane. Insane. Didn't even get home field with
Yeah.
14 wins.
Ugh.
That's a bad beat. That's really rough.
Brutal.
But um overall conclusion, make this one quick. I got two real notes. Rams defense is legit. Verse is legit. Even though he made some questionable comments about Philly today,
That was one of
I
my
didn't.
that was one of my big takeaways as well.
I didn't like what he had to say about Philly. But that's that. But the biggest thing that will come up past the Super Bowl, past all these
Yep.
divisional games, is Sam Darnold. He lost out on. I don't even number in my head.
I feel really bad for Minnesota because their decision got like 10 times harder after these last two games. For
Yeah,
what direction they want to go in. Also, we said at the beginning of the year that Minnesota is a cursed franchise, and that still stands, but for a different
yeah,
reason than we anticipated. Like
yeah,
this is the microcosm of what the Minnesota Vikings are. They're like the
yeah. It
winningest
is.
team in the league to not win a Super Bowl ever. It
They've
brutal stuff.
also they've also had some bad beats in the playoffs. Was it against the Seahawks or was it Blair Walsh that went wide left
Yeah,
on the field goal?
Blair Walsh, Brett Favre doing the Drew Aller thing. I mean, like,
Doing the Drew Aller thing. Yeah, you're early. You're early. We're getting. Oh my God! Yeah, Brett Favre.
yeah. So I really, really shocking season for Minnesota, like in a good
I gotta
and bad way.
I gotta say that call on the Brett Favre interception,
That guy is a legend. Legend.
dude. This isn't, what does he say? This isn't
This isn't
Chicago.
Detroit, man. This is the Super
This is
Bowl.
the Super Bowl. This isn't Detroit, man.
Crazy call.
Oh,
I love it.
why do you even ponder
You're
passing?
passing. Oh, great.
Oh my
Great.
God, I love that. Is my second favorite call on a Vikings game.
Oh man, I love that guy so
My
much, dude.
my favorite though on any Vikings game, actually Minneapolis Miracles up there, but also Joe Buck. Randy Moss shoots the moon to the
Oh,
Packers
oh my
fans.
God, dude.
That is a disgusting act from Randy Moss. And I'm
I've
ashamed that we had that on television
I've
on
never
our
heard someone so disgusted in my life over
dude
nothing.
for no reason. I love that clip. I've presented that clip, and that's how much I love that video. Um,
It is a doozy.
man, it dude, Joe Buck is something, man. But Vikings Rams.
Yeah. I'll touch on Minnesota first here because we'll also have to continue talking about the Rams later anyway.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we touched on the Sam Darnold thing. He maybe was like playing for a Baker contract. Depending on how these last games ended up, even if you lose, if you play okay, you're probably getting a Baker contract from someone. And it very well could have been Minnesota. I'm very hesitant if Minnesota keeps him at this point. I was very much in the club of you cannot let a guy who had the season Sam Darnold had walk for nothing. Um, I'd be I'd be more leaning into if they just did this with Sam Darnold. Why can't they do it with JJ McCarthy, who just sat for a year? Now, granted, he was injured for a little bit, but I'd rather bank on that and the upside of your team than trying to ride out Sam Darnold for like 2 or 3 more years. There's too many quarterback needy teams in the league. He'll maybe get like 50 over 2 from someone if I had to guess, maybe 60 over 2. But he's not getting 35, he's not getting 40, and he's not going to get guaranteed money like that. Um, the Jets, the Giants, the Steelers. There's some teams out there that, are closer to competing. I don't know. I mean, it's questionable. Like, it's Sam Darnold. Um, that's kind of my big takeaway. Kevin
Yeah.
O'Connell is an elite head coach. Also, another bottom line. A lot of good coaches in the league.
Hmm.
Um, the defense, Brian Flores also needs to be a head coach. Unreal, man. Like he's
Yeah.
he's he's really feast or famine, but he's like the good feast or famine. He's like consistently feast, and a lot less famine. Todd
Yeah.
Bowles is very much like 50-50. Brian Flores is like 75-25 maybe. Um,
Hmm.
and he developed a lot of really good players. Patrick Jones, Andrew Van Ginkel, Blake Cashman.
Yeah.
His group of corners this year was kind of gross, but Byron Murphy's a really good slot corner. You still got Harrison Smith going strong. Cam Bynum, I love Cam Bynum.
Yeah.
Best sellies in the game. Imagine if he was an offensive player. Um,
Quinion Selly's dude.
um,
What's the I can't even do it. I can't even replicate Quinion's dance.
yeah,
I don't
the
even want to, but I couldn't.
the Vikings will be all right. That division is so competitive.
Yeah.
And we'll flip it to a division that we thought was going to be a little more competitive this year, NFC West. The Rams, the big takeaway for me, and kind of what I was going to emphasize for their matchup with the Eagles. Sean McVay, since his greatest show on turf 2.0, where they got to the Super Bowl and they laid an egg against New England, um, he's continued to adapt. He's changed with the times, and it's been defense the last like year and a half. Um, and I think the start of last year, where people are like, "Oh, they'll win like 5 games or whatever." He had like practice squad players that you've never heard of before starting on his defense for the whole season. And now this year he's turned late round draft picks and, questionable practice squad players into a really good unit. That front is disgusting. Kobe Turner, Byron Young, Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, Omar Spates was a practice squad player. Christian Roseboom plays a lot of snaps. Like, who is that? Like,
Yeah.
it's really unbelievable. Akilla Witherspoon, I know he likes him. He's there. He brought in Emmanuel Forbes. Like the corners are questionable. Kobe Durant is fine.
I
Um,
hope Forbes lines up against AJ
I
Brown.
agree.
I
I
want it so
very
bad.
much
I
agree.
want it. I
Uh,
need it.
he brought in Cam Curl, who was like a pretty heralded player. But yeah, really impressive. He's winning with defense. Puka Nacua is great.
Mhm. Cooper
But
Cup is
yeah, tied a playoff record 9 sacks. That's the story. Jared Verse should probably be defensive rookie of the year. Probably. I'm interested to see how it goes.
yeah.